Hello everybody! The Music Fan is back, bringing smiles to the faces, knowledge to the people, and most importantly, music to the masses. And I am back with another Are You In? And after yesterday's long video, I wanted to do something a little bit more positive and a little bit more easy to digest. So today we are taking a look at the newest Volbeat album entitled Rewind, Replay, Rebound. Volbeat is a heavy metal, hard rock, groove metal band from Copenhagen, Denmark. Members including Michael Paulsen on lead vocals and rhythm guitar, John Larson on drums, Rob Cajanio on lead guitar and backing vocals, and Caspar Boy Larson on bass and backing vocals. Their previous albums include The Strength, The Sound, The Songs in 2005, Rock the Rebel, Metal the Devil in 2007, Guitar Gangsters and Cadillac Blood in 2008, Beyond Hell, Above Heaven in 2010, Outlaw, Gentlemen, and Shady Ladies in 2013, and Seal the Deal and Let's Boogie in 2016. Kind of a reason why I want to review this album is because about a week and a half from now, I'm going to be going to Knotfest with a couple of my friends, and I've found out that the lineup not only Slipknot, but also Behemoth, Gojira, and Volbeat. So, of course, as any knowledgeable concert goer should do, I checked out to see what the newest album by some of these bands are, and I found out that Volbeat was dropping a new album. Now, if you've never listened to Volbeat, they have a pretty distinctive sound. I would describe it in two different ways. If you like Green Day, but want something a little bit heavier, or if you like Metallica, but you're looking for something a little bit more mainstream. The reason for that is they kind of fit both of those molds. There is definitely a thrash metal and heavy metal influenced sound from them, but there are some times where they go a little bit more of those pop punk roots and go for something a little bit more catchy and a little bit fast paced, but not as heavy. So that's what you kind of get with this band. There are a few times where they stray. Now, I personally have only listened to Outlaw, Gentlemen, and Shady Ladies, and Seal the Deal and Let's Boogie. I got into them in 2013 when I remember seeing an ad on YouTube for their newest album. I really liked the album artwork. I found it really interesting and wanted to, of course, check them out. Out of the two so far, I found Outlaw, Gentlemen, and Shady Ladies a little bit better because I found the implementation of also some more Western ideas making for a more diverse sound. But I love a lot of the songs on there, Loa Montez, Lonesome Rider, even their cover of My Body by Young the Giant is really fun. And they got nominated for a Grammy for Room 403 with King Diamond as one of the features on there. And even though it wasn't in my top 50, I came back to it and found a lot of it very enjoyable. Seal the Deal and Let's Boogie also has some great stuff on there, including the opening track, The Devil's Crown. They had said that there would be more influences of the Bayou, and I didn't find any of it really that resonant on there. It just made for a pretty solid album, but nothing that stood out as much as Outlaw, Gentlemen, and Shady Ladies. So, coming back to them, I kind of knew what I was getting into, but I wanted to see if they kind of changed up their sound. And for better or worse, they really haven't. Not to say that this is a lackluster album. There's still some great songs on here, but if you're looking for something new from this band, you're not really getting it here. If I would say that there are some new stuff, it's that they focus more on that lighter side, the more Green Day style, than the heavier stuff on occasion, but also they do have some heavier stuff at times, making for a nice combination of the two. Let's go over some of the positives. My favorite song on the album is the opener, Last Day Under the Sun. It has so much great energy to it. The chorus itself is so catchy. I found myself singing that chorus every now and again and having it stuck in my head. The last day under the last day under the last day under the last day under the sun. Really catchy. It is a little bit repetitive, it is a little bit poppy, but it still has some great energy to it. The whole entire arrangement itself has some great energy. I really like the guitar on here, especially the guitar solo, one of the better ones that I've heard from this band, and it just kicks off this album with such great energy. Going with another great energy song, Leviathan has so much kick-ass energy. The chorus has some great harmonies, and then another one that has a really good solo. The interlapping of the bridge melody and guitar is really interesting to listen to. Just another one that has so much fun, and when they're on their game, a lot of these songs are just really fun and just really easy to listen to. Cloud 9 has more of the more current Green Day vibe, but again, another one that has a lot of fun. The chorus here is one that has a very typical chord progression that they use. So the best way I can describe it is a lot of their songs tend to use either in the verse or the chorus some sort of combination of either 2, 5, 1, 4 or 4, 5, 1, 4. So sometimes you hear it as the 2 minor to the 5 to the 1 and the 4. And then usually they do the 4 to the 5 to the 1 to the 4. It's not something that is so out of the ordinary, but I've noticed it a lot of times listening to the last 3 albums of theirs. And I bet you if I listened to their other stuff, it would show up a lot. It's not that it's bad, it just, I find it a little bit formulaic, and I know that eventually it will come on at least 1 or 2 of these songs. Still though, Cloud 9 has some great energy. It has a pretty dark bridge that is very reminiscent of a Ladies Metallica song. I also will say that that is something that's very nice on this album, that even though when you do have some more Green Day vibes, there are some times where it shifts to a more dark sound on the bridge, making for something a little bit more interesting. That's why Cloud 9 is so high to me. Die to Live, it has a lot of punk rock energy, and it features Neil Fallon on this song. Very standard punk rock kind of sound, though it also weirdly, and I don't know why this correlation happens, but it has this clinking higher octave piano part that seems very reminiscent of like a boogie woogie sound that you would hear on something a little bit more fast paced like this. It's fun, the chorus is really fun as well, and it does again have that typical chord progression that Volbeat uses. Also, one of the better songs, Sorry Sack of Bones, very dark, and it has this kind of weird chord progression that feels a little bit like a B-52 song. It is so much fun to listen to. It's really weird, but just works for the sound. And then the chorus itself is one of the better choruses on the album, especially the descending motion on the latter half of the song. And it's just really fun and really cheesy. The Everlasting is one of the longer songs in the album, and it feels more like a thrash metal song. The chorus does use that typical progression that I've been talking about, but the drumming on here is some of the best, and it flows through a lot of different styles, but pulls them together for the most part. The bridge slows everything down and has some really cool guitar lines, making for one of the more complex arrangements on the album. Chief-Size Sloggers also fits this vibe that we've already talked about, though it does change it up a little bit with this nice gallop metal kind of feel, like this like 6/8 flow, though it's not really a 6/8. The main guitar riff is really nice, and the drums are pretty active, especially on the cymbals that I really enjoy. And it does feature a guitar solo from Gary Holt on here, and another one that does have a harder section, which feels a little bit more like a 80s thrash metal, though I will say the transition's a little bit weird going to it and then coming out of it. But still, a decent song that does enough to make it interesting. And this is where we get to a little bit some of the weaker songs. Rewind the Exit is a slower rock song. The verse chord progression is interesting and combined with that melody, but the chorus has some great power, and it's some of the best vocals from Paulson on this album. 724 as a closer, one of the softest parts on this album, and it's simple but very sweet. It does use that chord progression on the bridge, but it then turns into something a little bit more complex, and makes for one of the better parts of that song. And it's just a very sweet way to end the album. The Awakening of Bonnie Parker feels like it could have been a little bit more interesting, could have been something more like a bossa nova or more of a Spanish flair type of song, but it then turns into something a little bit predictable. It has that more Green Day vibe and uses that chord progression that we've talked about. The chorus is much better than the verse melody, making it for a little bit better than some of the rest of these songs, but mostly it is one that could have been something more exciting, but makes it a little bit more predictable. Maybe I Believe and When We Were Kids is more of the poppy side of this band. Maybe I Believe uses woes on the verses, and the main guitar isn't hugely interesting, but it makes up for a more darker bridge section, and the chorus itself has some powerful harmonies, even if again it uses that typical chord progression that they are known so well. When We Were Kids has some decent parts. The bridge section is nice and it does have some darker tones. The solo is pretty good. However, the melody is one of the weakest on the album. It feels like it's a little bit all over the place and a little bit too preachy. It never feels like it has some consistency, and because of that, it feels a little bit too long. Pelvis on Fire, it feels a little bit different from everything else, but it just doesn't work as a song for me. The song mostly has this punk rock bluesy feel. It's fun at times, but it feels like it transitions between way too many things, because it also does have an intro that is more of a thrash metal vibe. How it comes together is just a little bit clunky, and the vocals are just like really over the top for my style. And then Parasite, the last song, fun punk rock song, but it feels more like an interlude. It's just only 50 seconds. Overall, the vibe on here, you get a lot of very consistent stuff, but the consistency is good. It's not like any of these songs aren't enjoyable. It just, you are getting a lot of very similar songs on here. Though there is enough in the melody or in the solos or in the vibe that makes for a little bit of difference, though not a lot. Lyrically, this is where it gets a little bit weird for me. I'm not exactly sure if this is a concept album. It seems like some of their stuff are concept albums. Stuff like Outlaw Gentlemen and Shady Ladies deals with a lot more Western vibes, and Seal the Deal, and That's Bookie seems to be, if I'm reading correctly, about making a bet with the devil and having a boxing match with him. If there is a concept here, I would say the concept is about looking back on life with both admiration, but also understanding that it is a past and you have to let that lie and look towards the future. Though also looking to potentially have one more day under the sun, if you will. So, from what I'm understanding, a lot of these songs are dealing with the passing of time, eventually getting to a point where you're letting those younger antics behind you, where you don't have to go out and drink and debaucherize all the time. You can actually settle down and mature and with someone that you love and eventually have a family. And that's where the ending part of this is. 724 is about the birth of, I believe, Michael Paulson's kid, and the love and admiration that he has for his kid, and wanting to see this person grow and being there for the child. So it's a nice way of ending this album. The flow of the lyrics are interesting enough. One of my favorites, honestly, is Leviathan. If I'm understanding the metaphor correctly, is talking about wanting to take over the world with the Leviathan, but I think what it more is trying to make the world in your own image and realizing that you don't have control over that, and understanding now that you are in a stage where you don't have that control. And those ideas of rioting and these ideas of revolution are more sedated as you go on. So that's one of my favorite lyrics on here. Honestly, to me, this was very enjoyable. Does it do anything different from the style that they've done before? No. I still enjoy Gentlemen Outlaws and Shady Ladies better because it feels a little bit more diverse, but there's enough on here that I can definitely go back to, and there isn't necessarily a song that I hate all around. There are just some weird experimentations that just don't work for me. So overall, I would say listen to the whole album. It's really fun, and if you enjoy this style, you know what you're getting, but I think there's enough here that you can satisfy that need. That being said, I would love to see them do something a little bit different. I would love to see where they can go with this sound, because they've been doing it for years now. First off, I would love to go back and see if this style has been the way it has since the beginning. And second, I would love to see something new and imaginative from this band, because while this was good, I know that it could be better. So I'm curious to see what else they can do in the future. But hey, it was fun to listen to, and I hope that you enjoyed as well. So that is my time. Thank you so much for watching. Let me know if you like or hate this album and your reasons why. Let me know other albums from 2019 that you would like me to review. Share this with your friends. And most importantly, subscribe to my channel so that I know that you enjoy what I'm doing and want to see more material from me in the future. So tomorrow, I'm breaking up the Are You Ins with a 5-minute theory, and then I'll be back Saturday and Sunday with 2 more Are You Ins. Actually, the next Are You In we're going to be talking about is another album that just recently came out from one of the bands in Knotfest, but I won't tell you what it is just yet. You'll have to find out on Saturday. So until then, this is the Music Fan, and I'm signing off.